Shelley and Imogene Kasten, and they make up the Bicentennial Committee. And we're here to learn a little bit about Herculaneum's history. Now, when did you guys move to Herculaneum? You guys can just take turns going. Who wants to go first?
I was born and raised in Herculaneum.
What year were you born?
1936.
And what about you, Norma?
I was born and raised here too, 1933. Went to school here.
I came to Herculaneum in 1928 from Flat River, born in Flat River. Lived here most of my life.
Imogene?
I was born in Elmwood, New York, and I first visited Herculaneum on Christmas Day, 1945. I was in service during World War II, and I didn't come to live here until 1951.
Now, where did you guys live in Herculaneum?
I lived on South Main. I was born in a house on South Main.
I lived on Long Street, which is the two-lane highway that they call Old 61, 67.
Okay.
I lived in what they call Concrete Town, on the other side of Highway 61, 67 then, and Thirlwell Street.
I moved to Broad Street, where I live now, in 1951. It looks like I'll not be there very much longer.
That's up overlooking St. Jolette. She lived. She's
I live in what they
retired.
call a contaminated area.
Now, what about your parents? Who were they and where did they originate from?
My father was Thomas Coleman. He was born in 1885. My mother was Julie Floyd Coleman. 1891, they come from Old Mines in Bliss, Missouri. In 1912, they were married at the Sacred Heart Church in Crystal City. And lived here ever since until her death.
My mom and dad was Theodore E. and Maggie Belcher Boyer, and my mom was born in 1903 and my dad was born in 1901, and they were married 18 years later and lived here in Herculaneum all their life.
My parents was Thomas Shelley, and mother was Hazel Thurman Shelley, and they came from around Farmington, Missouri. And my dad moved here, worked for St. Jolette as electrician. And mother was born in 1900, my dad was 1800 something, but I don't know.
Both my parents were born in New York State. My father was born in 1898. His name was James Bolden Mansfield. And my mother was born in 1900. And she was Elsie Oliva Mason.
How many generations of your family lived here in Herculaneum?
3.
3.
I had 3 generations live here too.
Now, that was before you, the generations. Do you
Oh,
have 3 now? Or?
including my
Oh, okay.
Let's see, my parents lived here, of course I lived here, and then I raised daughters, blood children, stepchildren here.
Well, my husband's parents lived in Herculaneum. His mother was from Peabody. His father was from St. Louis. And they built the house that I'm now living in 1918.
How long have you guys lived in Herculaneum?
I lived here 7 years.
I've lived here all my life. 33 years.
Oh, gosh.
I thought you'd tell your age pretty soon.
You should ask that.
He's been asking my age since he started.
Nora?
Well, I don't know how many years. I lived here, I don't live here now. I lived in Utah and other places, but I lived here in Herculaneum at least 50 years or better. Not now.
Moved here in 51, so it's 55 years.
Now, did your families, like, that lived here, did they own any businesses and, like, what kind of jobs did they hold?
My father worked at St. Joe Lead Company at that time, yes, 42 years. And my mother, she cooked at Ben's Tavern. They had a tavern and a restaurant, and she was a cook there. And then she cooked over at Crystal, at the glass plant over there.
When my dad came here, he was 16 years old, and he went to work for Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company, and he didn't stay there very long, and then he came to work for Central Lead, and he worked there for 38 years. And my mother was just a stay-at-home mom.
My dad worked at St. Joe when we moved to Herculaneum, and then came the Depression, and he was laid off, and he worked on the river and worked at Jeffersonburg's hospital, and then he got on at Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company in Crystal City as an electrician, which he was, and that's about it.
My father-in-law, Oscar E. Kasten, worked for the office for the lead plant. And my parents were in New York, but they was Herculaneum.
Now, did you guys go to school here in Herculaneum, or did you guys attend any other school in the area?
Herculaneum.
From K through kindergarten, did you?
I went to the Assumption Catholic School first 8 years. Them years they didn't have kindergarten too much. And then I went to high school here.
I went all 13 years here, including kindergarten. Graduated from here.
Actually, I went 11 and a half years, but I graduated though. We didn't have kindergarten then, never heard of it.
Did you have
Yeah.
My husband and his two sisters graduated from here, and my 3 children graduated from here. And I was the first school nurse in Delta R5 in 1967.
Do you guys remember any of your teachers or any of the athletes at your school, or
Remember who?
any of the athletes or teachers that went through your school? Anybody?
Miss Robinson, Mr. Taylor, Miss Crawford, and
Noel Gray,
yeah.
he was the principal.
And there's a story behind each one of them.
Yeah.
Of course, I go back farther, Mary Noble. Of course,
Yeah.
there's Miss Heiner,
Miss Crawford,
she taught my oldest brother, she taught me, she taught my daughter. She taught probably about 4 or 5 generations. Hadashire. Louise Hadashire.
yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
taught about 4 or 5 generations.
I didn't go to school.
Did you guys have any outstanding athletes that?
I'm sure we did, but I can't come to my mind right now.
The Thomases, the whole Thomas family was all athletes. There's several of them that could have made Major League Baseball. But we had, I don't know how many Duck Thomases. The father was Duck Thomas, there's one son, Duck Thomas, another son was Duck Thomas, and the grandson was Duck Thomas, you know, and, we've had, used to, one year, years ago, why the St. Louis Cardinals, beginning before their season started, came down to Herculaneum by Artesian Park and played, used to have stands down there, and played a baseball game with the Herculaneum players, and Herculaneum beat them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sudmerville,
Sudmerville, Elmerville, yeah,
they were all good athletes.
yes,
And Chester Harm,
yes.
played ball too.
In the days that, years back, there was more out-of-town kids come to this school than there was in-town. Northwest, and Fox, and all of them.
Benton, Missouri, High
Yeah.
Ridge,
Cedarville,
141, they all just bust in. There was a lot more children coming that way than there was in this area.
all the kids that on the old highway Merrimack Bridge on or Merrimack River. From there, all those kids came either Herculaneum or Crystal City.
Right,
They
right.
had their choice.
Mhm.
And I don't care if a snow day came,
We had to
those
go-
buses didn't run, but us local
had to go to
kids had to go to school.
There was no high school between Lindbergh High School and Herculaneum. There was none, was it?
No?
No.
Did you guys regularly attend church anywhere in the area?
Yes, I attended the Assumption Church.
I attended the Methodist church here in Herculaneum until I got married, and then I joined the Assumption Catholic Church. Been there ever since.
And I, as a kid, attended the Assembly of God Church. They called us Holy Rollers. They would call it Catholicers.
Norman, was that the church up on the hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
we-
Where the fire department, right close to the
Yeah.
fire department now?
Overlooking St. Joe, yeah.
Yeah.
Where the fire department is where the church was. But
And
we-
Dr. Sin
it
was
was
there.
such a poor church, why we had it in a local theater and the shoe factory that used to be up the highway,
Yeah.
which is, the building's no longer there.
Yeah. That's
And-
where Marlene Freiner lives now. That's where the shoe
Yes.
factory was.
Right.
I'm
Pretty
Episcopalian,
old, aren't you?
I went to the Episcopal Church in DeSoto.
So, now did you guys belong to any civic or social clubs?
We had Girl Scouts and Brownies, Teen Town. Oh, we had great.
Oh,
Yeah.
what exactly is Teen Town?
It's, someone would have a building and they would oversee all the teenagers. And if they wanted to come in and dance, play pool, play cards or whatever, and they'd have snacks, hamburgers or soda or something you could eat and buy and eat and drink. And it was a gathering for teenagers. It was great, it really was. Yeah.
I wish we had something like that.
Yeah, those days were great to grow up in Herculaneum. It's sad to see what's happened to us
But
now.
most of the time, they ran it, once you were in and you leave, you had to sign yourself out and a time. That way if something went
Where
wrong.
did we get that at?
Not when I went to the recreation hall.
There was some of them that year
Yeah.
that they had to do that, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then there was-
mainly down KP Hall,
Yeah,
which was where the business district used to be.
I didn't go to that one.
Don't you go.
I went where the old post office used to be, and Bud Sparks used to have it right down there.
Oh,
And then there was a bus that traveled from Festus to Herculaneum, and you could, they'd pick you up on the corner of different places, and they'd take you to Festus, and they had what they called quims over there where all the kids gathered. It was just a little place kids gathered, and then every so many hours they would come back, and bring you back on the bus. Or if you wanted to go shopping, you could go shopping. In them days, there wasn't many cars around.
it's the Schulte bus lines.
Is it? I
Yes,
couldn't
Schulte
think
bus
what it was.
Because years ago, Gar Duncan had a taxi cab service that took people to work or the women to work at Festus at the shoe factory, or shirt factory, I don't remember. You know,
Now, do you guys remember any town holiday celebrations?
Yes, every Christmas Eve, there was a celebration. That evening, there was always a big tree down here at the Wedge, on Main Street, South Main, down to the Wedge, next to the drugstore. I don't know how you explain that anymore. But, and everyone would gather there about 6 o'clock in the evening, all the families, and we'd sing carols, and they'd give candy out and everything. And it was nice. It was really nice. They always had the biggest tree in the world there. What do you remember?
They might have gave us a little sack of candy.
Oh, yeah, they gave us a little sack of candy, oh, yeah.
yeah.
I think a lot of times, I don't know if the union put it on, I don't know who had that tree. The
It
union.
started out with the union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
See, I
probably
Seattle,
Seattle.
yeah,
Yeah.
with, have a cross.
Plus, we had a grocery store, and of course, that Herculaneum Business District was a bustling little business district, because you just didn't drive to Festus, because 4 miles away was a long ways. And you did go to St. Louis maybe twice a year. And speed, you know, your car goes 35 or 40 miles an hour. Second World War, the speed limit was 35 miles an hour. And over that, they could arrest you. I experienced it.
Do you guys remember the fall festival in Peewee? Because now we have a annual around fall time. We have a festival.
So it's
Over in Peewee.
Yeah, back in those days, I don't know,
We didn't have,
no.
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 School would have in the a fall festival thing, and then May would have like a thing where you go into classrooms and see what the kids were doing in school and meet with the teacher some.
Exhibits.
Exhibit, you got the word,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember the 4th of July's we used to have with Tukey, Haggard, used to, and all the Culver guys used to put on a beautiful 4th of July down here at the park down here. Where they used to have the 4th of July.
Down at by Joanna.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that was always fun. And they always had a
Do you remember the,
booth and that.
but do you know, remember that Joachim Creek was not called Joachim Creek when I was a kid?
What was it called?
Swarsham,
Squashing, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Indian name.
Squashing.
Swarsham, something
Yeah.
like that.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad always called it
Yeah,
squashing.
yeah,
I don't know where they get that name.
it's an Indian name. The
Okay.
Indians had named it, but what, I don't know how they switched the name over to Joachim, though.
Okay. And we had a drugstore that was just amazing.
Great guy worked in there.
Great guy worked in there. Well, there were several great guys and
Yeah,
ladies
several
that
great
worked in
guys.
there. Yes.
Yeah, outstanding people.
And outstanding people, but way back then, a lot of people in her lane didn't have telephone.
Bill Haggard worked in there for me.
And it was, if there was a death or if there was somebody needed to get in touch with you, they would send a telegram. And then later on, I guess the drugstore got a telephone, or they would call the drugstore, and someone from the drugstore would come to your house and let you know that there's a message down there for you.
They
Can you
also,
imagine?
they also sent telegrams down at the
Depot,
Depot.
yeah.
Okay.
Cat
Yeah,
Depot.
Depot,
Yes,
yeah.
down to Depot.
But,
Yes.
Yeah,
the-
and then he would deliver them.
Yes, yes, later on they did.
even though the telephone was, you know, a drugstore with pharmacy business and all that, you still would crank it so many times to get to this number or that number, or crank one long crank to get hold of an operator, which was located down in Peewee, Missouri, where the, and all, and, your phone call to a doctor calling a prescription, well, he would have to go back to their back door where everybody could hear and take the prescription down from the doctor.
We've got cell phones now, so you can just call anywhere, anytime.
Oh, man. It wasn't like that when we was kids.
And very few people in town have a telephone.
Yeah, that's,
Very
that's
few people.
right. There wasn't
Yeah.
many. No, there wasn't many things. No, and Norman, he worked at the drugstores.
In high school, all through high school. And then years later, why, I owned the drugstore.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Well, that's that great guy you're talking about.
Right.
Bill worked for me.
And Bill's aunt
In
worked.
high school. Yeah. he
And his
worked for me.
sisters.
And
And
Bill's
his two
aunt.
sisters.
And his sister.
Whole bunch of Burlage girls and,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I think sometime, and his aunt worked for him.
Oh.
And his uncle worked for him.
And I worked next door at the post office for 30 years. So
Yeah.
Norman was right next door, and on my break, I got to run over there and get a soda.
Right.
Yeah.
How long was the post office there in town?
Where it was? Oh, gosh, long time, because I ended up owning the post office when I bought the building from my brother.
It was next door to Mr. Wax's store.
Yeah.
And then B&L it became. And then we moved from that little place across the street
Yeah.
there next door
But
to
one
you.
time somewhere, I used to have a picture of the post office, this little building, like where Charlie Gouchardo shoe shop was. Well, that was a post office at one time. And they moved it.
Didn't Tiny work in the post office?
Tiny worked in the post office.
That was later.
Yeah, later.
Yeah, I was already working at the
When
post
Tiny
office when
came out of
Tiny was
service,
hired.
And Miss Evans, she
Bob
worked
Evans.
Um,
Bob Simpson?
Bob Simpson was a postmaster whenever I went to work.
Yeah, yeah. Joe, let's see, Joe McDowell was
Yeah.
he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Joe
Joe
McDowell.
McDowell was postmaster.
Yeah, Mrs. Gilbert,
Mrs. Gilbert, yeah. And then Tony Manning's wife,
Babe Booyer.
Babe Booyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, do you guys remember any disasters like floods or fires or?
Yes, it used to flood a lot down here. That's what I'm
Right
kind of,
over there, so.
The school was
The fire.
destroyed in I was a freshman in high school then, and I can remember, I wasn't concerned about the building burning, but I left a sweater in my locker. And we went all over town to different classes. The buses took us to the library, and they really made out where our classes were. We didn't miss any school.
Wow.
It was fun.
was that on Christmas Eve? When?
Christmas morning.
Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my brother brought me up here to see.
Yeah. Before my time, though, a tornado came through Herculaneum and took the top of the smokestack out. And Bill has pictures of guys up on top of the stack, and that's what they're doing. They're rebuilding the stack, you know.
Yeah, talking about the flood down here on the bridge, I can remember my mother, she was working in Crystal. And I don't guess there was, the other highway wasn't there yet, I don't know. But anyway, they would take and get in a boat down here, what they call the Green Lantern, which was a little confectionery place. And the boat would take them across, and there'd be someone across in a car to pick them up and take them on to work to Festus or Crystal. But,
We used to have a ferry, Herculaneum, that took
Yeah.
you over to Illinois,
Yeah.
you know.
They also had
Great thrill getting on
showboats.
there, riding all the way to Illinois and setting your foot over on the dirt at Illinois.
They had showboats. You remember
Showboats,
that?
we used to
Yeah.
have showboats in the club, playing real loud music, and you heard all over Herculaneum. And you know the showboat was here, but me being of a religious family, well, I wasn't allowed to go down there and look at those nasty girls. Work that out. But it was really interesting, you know.
Now, how was your lives affected during World War II and the Depression?
I was born then, 36. In the Depression, I think they had a pretty rough time of it.
Yeah,
I don't remember much of it.
I'm a depression child.
I was born during the Depression, and I can remember hearing my mom and dad talk about it, and they said it really didn't affect them too much because they had a big garden, and then here in town, you raised your own animals to butcher and eat.
Everybody had pigs,
Oh, yes,
a lot of pigs. You get their slop up.
right in the backyard.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And, but the depression here, well, everybody was poor. Nobody paid any attention. It wasn't everybody had to have $150 pair of tennis shoes,
Oh, no.
anything like that. You know, ones that wore tennis shoes were poor people.
And you only wore them in the summer.
And you only wore them in summer, or go barefooted, which you went out barefooted most times.
They rationed, I can remember saying everything was rationed, but you got some stamps to buy sugar with, or what was the deal on that?
Yeah.
I believe it or not, whenever I was 8th grade of school, I worked in a restaurant down at Herculaneum, Missouri, and these truck drivers, I would work night shift, and I would slip them a beer after a certain hour, and they give me stamps. I supplied a Herculaneum school with a lot of E-stamps, which was worth like 50 gallons of gas. And they bought their gas at the Green Lantern school buses.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the school bus names, guys, was Ed Picken. Cookie Picken, one of the school bus drivers. And all. Yeah.
I don't know, Norm, do you remember a rag man coming around?
Ragman.
Yeah.
And we had an ice man.
Ragman.
And he would yell.
And gather up scrap iron,
Milkman.
tires, milkman delivered, funny bread delivered, Iceman, which was White, Rodney White. They called him hard water. I was in school. Somebody said to him, "What does your dad do for a living?" Said, "Oh, he makes hard water," which was ice. And the ice was got out of the Mississippi River and stored in a part of the town with sawdust, and that's what they sell.
I think the only thing we got delivered was the paper man or the pizza guy. So,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But what did the rag man do with them things? I mean,
The tickets sent to us,
Yeah,
they
so-
would, and all.
but we give it to them.
Look, yes, no, we would gather them up and we'd get a little money for them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that one.
Yes, cause,
the ragman, so what did he exactly do?
What did he have a wheelbarrow? Did he have a truck?
No,
or
they
what?
would have come down in a truck and pick up rags, and then you had a guy pick up scrap metal.
Yeah.
You know, now the scrap metal prices are high again.
My dad used to pick up scrap metal after he retired.
Sure,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the way we earned a little money. You didn't spend money. Pepsi Cola was a nickel, and
Oh,
you was
yes.
lucky to get a nickel a week to go get you a Pepsi Cola. And when you did, you treated it with care, and if you're around friends, while the friends was one Cobb's, which was a certain amount left, and then the other amount left was called Snarts. That's when it was Pepsi Cola and slobbers mixed together. And that's when I caddied at the golf course at Herculaneum, because Herculaneum has for years had a golf course. I don't know how far it reached back, but before my time as a kid was the golf course, which would be a piece of interesting history to look up. Bill Haggard isn't paying a bit of attention.
So they're laughing at us.
But it really, the golf, I
Oh,
carried
yeah.
a golf course that made 25 cents
I don't know when.
carrying a bag for 9 holes. And I don't care if it's 104 degrees, you carry that bag for 25 cents.
And,
But you was rich.
and if you had a little car or something back when I was young, it was starting to drive, you could get a gallon of gas for 25 cents, 15 cents sometimes.
19 cents whenever I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the Second World War, why I had my girlfriend now, which became a wife, he one of them. And, but anyway, ran out of gas. And I went to the gas station over in Festus, and he gave me enough gas, but I had to leave her there as until I went home and got a gas coupon, so I could pay for my gas as well as getting my gas tank.
We would pool our money, and there was one girl that could drive, Joe Beard, and she would drive her dad and mom's car, and we'd go up to Carl Bolch's, which was north of Peebly, and we'd pool our money and buy a couple gallons of gas so we could ride around with her.
Sure. My dad had an old 36 truck and we'd pool our money and we'd go over to Crystal Heights, and in them days it was shift, and I'd put the clutch in so you wouldn't use the gas while you was going down the hill. And he was coasting and then up the hill, you know, you didn't have to use any gas.
Of course, the neat thing too was more or less after my time and after the Second World War was cruising Main Street at Festus. Kids would get in their car, you know, and that's when times got a little bit better and all that, and people had a little money. And kids would cruise, it'd be bumper to bumper, yelling at each other, and they go up and turn around, and then they come back down, and they go down and turn around, bumper to bumper, yelling at each other. Of Of course, we all despised Crystal City kids
Yes,
because they were from the richer families. And Herculaneum and Festus was the bonding people.
right,
We always rooted against Crystal City,
right,
you know. We were poor people in Herculaneum.
yeah. And you can almost tell yet today if you're talking to someone from Crystal City.
There.
Isn't that odd?
Yeah, I own rental property, and I got property in Festus and Crystal. In Crystal City, you can get more money per piece of property in Crystal than you can in Festus.
What modes of transportation did you and your family have?
Well, after, I guess I was, well, I don't know how old I was. My dad had a little truck, what was it?
Yeah.
And then as years went on, he got more, it was always a truck. Mhm. But I learned to drive the truck, stick shift. And you know, Doe Run used to be back, Doe Run was McClay Concrete, where they made concrete blocks back there. And of course, that was all open to anybody who wanted to go back there in them days. And there was a lot of sand back there, oh my goodness. And we used to take our cars back there and learn to drive back there. It was a good place to learn to drive or do donuts or whatever.
Place to park too.
Well, yeah, it's a good place to park, yeah. And up on top of the drive.
You know, to drive.
I think they turned the covers off, they all left.
I didn't hear you.
There were no houses there back then.
Oh, no, there was no houses
the
on
end
the
of the
back
road,
drive.
there
Oh,
was-
no,
There
there
were
was
two
no
houses
houses.
way back there.
Yeah.
The one used to live in,
Yeah.
and then the house back up.
Yeah,
You know.
the two-story, the old two-story house.
Two-story
Yeah.
house, yeah.
Mhm.
What did you ask us?
What modes of transportation did you and your family have?
We was just a one-car family.
Everybody was one car family, yeah. Yeah.
Now, what all did you guys do for fun in Herculaneum? I know you kind of talked about how you guys had the recreation hall. Was that basically it? Was that where everybody hung out after school, or was there other stuff you guys did?
Well, I hung out in Town. I didn't hang out much at the recreation hall. I guess that was for my time or something.
The kids made their fun. They would walk down the river road to the river, or they would walk down across the trestle and go down the tracks to what was called the green spot. And usually Liz and Cecil Partney would go with us as chaperone. Sometimes you'd have a wiener roast down there, and there was a cave up on the hill that Norman remembered. It's called Jesse James's Cave.
Mhm.
Now, whether you ever slept there, hobos used to live there.
Yeah.
The hobos, when they used to come through,
Mhm.
and they would mark the gates for a good place to stop, to tell the other hobos to
Right.
stop, and give them food, and some of them would cut wood for you, and do little jobs to earn food or money, but most of them didn't want any food or money. And it was a good source for kids to have them go in and just because as I was a kid, we would give them money to go and buy 2 bottles of wine, one for them and one for us. We didn't have what they drugs now. Then nobody would use drugs. It was
No.
either alcohol. And there never was excessiveness there even among kids.
Now, did you
We
guys
had fun. That's why we had fun. We didn't have to use drugs to have fun.
Right.
We used to like to go fishing. My husband was quite a fisherman, and I was too after I caught my first fish. It was fun.
Now, did you guys ever go to the show or anything?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a show, there was a bowling alley, and we went to the show a couple times a week.
It cost 12 cents for me to get in. 12 cents.
Wow. I wish it cost 12 cents these days.
Hazel Locke owned the show. You remember him?
Mr. Evans on the show before Ace Lock.
And they had a furnace down in the corner, remember? And he'd go down and fire that old furnace up, and if you sat down the front, you was warm, but if you was back very far, you was freezing to death. That building.
Benita Theater
Yeah.
was the name of it.
Yes.
Japanese, yeah.
What kind of shows do they play with?
Westerns, and
A lot of
a
westerns.
lot of westerns in them.
A lot of westerns, yeah. Flash Garden, I can remember going to see Flash Garden. I wasn't allowed to go to show because I was against the religion of my mother's, but we would still sneak off and go. Decent shows, you know,
A lot of cowboy shows.
a lot of cowboy shows, yeah.
Mm.
What is your guys' fondest memory of Herculaneum? Out of what's one thing you take out of Herculaneum? If there's one thing you could pass on to a different generation, what would it be?
Our town back.
How exactly is that?
Yeah.
How exactly is it? Like, what about the town before would you like back?
Good old days, I guess. Well, go ahead, Mark.
I didn't hear what he said.
What's your fondest memory of Herculaneum?
I still didn't hear what you said.
Fondest memory of Herculaneum, going above the Mary Lou's Tavern at night and dancing.
Yeah.
And drink that Pepsi Cola.
Yeah.
While they sit over the bar, allowed them to be drunk and everything. And it didn't influence those kids one bit, you know. And the picnics, the Catholic Church picnic.
Once in a while, a carnival. What time?
Carnival generally came to town every year.
Artesian Park.
Artesian Park, at one time, you couldn't,
Little Richard.
out on the hard telling how many hundreds of people it packed in. And, yeah, big deal. We sold a lot of whiskey at the drugstore for that.
Yeah.
People were much more friendly in Herculaneum than they were back in New York or like New York.
Oh, friendly, yes. People would help people. Helpful, very helpful. You know, and, a lot of men in town could not afford a vehicle. And be a snowy, rainy night with some guy going by, he would pick them up and take them to work and things. And the modern society has neglected all that, and it gets worse too.
Now, what was the population of Herculaneum? Was it, would you say larger than this or smaller?
Well, if you exclude
200
all
or
the,
300 or 500?
No, more than
something like
that.
that, around 500 people.
Yeah.
It was all on, you didn't have Highway 55 or
No.
anything. And of course, when I was a little kid, well, the main highway was the highway here.
Yes.
And then they
Right.
built the big modern highway over on the other side, 4 lanes, and then came later in life, 55. We had would have a highway patrol to let you cross the highway. We'd go home at lunch. Everybody walked to school, everybody walked home from school, I don't care how many blocks, snow, rain, sleet, whatever. And you had highway patrol because you had to walk and the kids would stand there, flags, stop the traffic and everything. Don't you remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a committee that was on.
Yeah, committee,
That come up
yeah.
with patrol. And we went home, a lot of town kids went home for lunch lots of times. But if you live close enough, you walk home
We didn't
for
have a
lunch.
cafeteria.
Or we'd go up here on North Main to Bonds. Bonds was some place else the kids kind of hung out. It was hamburgers and sodas and that, and everybody gathered there, up here on Main Street. North Main.
And when I was in school, the girls weren't allowed to wear slacks, like blue jeans. They may wear them in the wintertime, then they got to school, they take them off and wear the dress.
Mhm.
Now, nowadays kids, they watch a lot of TV. Did that ever go on? A lot of television?
We didn't have television. Well, I was, gosh, I don't know how old I was. But we didn't have television in them days.
Really?
When did television come in? 54. When did you have television?
I remember that the first family that bought a TV, their name was Fadlers. And all the neighbors around would go over on Saturday night and everybody take food and watch it. And there was very little on then. Wrestling was on.
And Howdy Doody?
Yeah, well, I don't think at that time Howdy
No.
Doody wasn't.
Call you back.
Very little.
So I don't know what year.
Yeah, radio was popular when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Yes, radio.
AM.
AM.
Well, no such thing as FM. AM radio. You know.
I guess it was in about 50 or 150 before we got a television.
That was about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, so consequently, no television, you went outside and played. Consequently, too, you didn't have all the fat kids that you have now.
Right.
You know, if I could give up one choice of life, I would throw the television out first, then I'd throw the computer out next, the internet, and then I would not get rid of my cell phone though.
What about fast food? Did you guys ever have a little burger stop that you guys went to?
Yes, we had hamburger stops.
We had Liz Bond there.
Liz's place,
Liz, yeah.
Liz was just
Yeah.
right up the street here.
Then Ben's Tavern, you could go in
Yeah.
there as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be drinking in front and go in the back and you could buy a hamburger
Get a
back there.
hamburger or hot meal or whatever. Oh yeah, we had hamburgers and you could get both of them. And they were good hamburgers too. They were grilled.
We had a lot of businesses down in what we call downtown. We had a cleaners and a tailor, and we had a taxi cab service and an upholstery shop, and there was a dry goods store called Mr. Wax's, and the company store. You went up the steps to the company store. It was owned by the company, by Central Lead, and people could buy their groceries on tab. And then when payday came, you paid off your tab.
Wow.
We had Mr. Lefty's store. We had a shoe repair where they repaired shoes, shoe cobbler, or whatever they call. And also we had beauty shops
Had a bakery too.
and a bakery.
Yeah,
Lisa's
bakery.
Bakery on top of the
Oh,
hill. And one time there was a mercantile store
Yes.
up there, several barber shops. And all.
Yes, we had several beauty shops in that area down there through the
But
years.
when I was a kid, there was no video shops. You did it at home with the old curling iron that you would heat
What
over
was
the
the
stove.
building down the end of Main Street?
Fact hardware, but
Well,
that
that was on the side of the street, but the building that was right down at the end.
KP Hall.
KP
KP
Hall.
Hall.
Knights of Philippius.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, Knights of
There was a
Philippius.
hotel down there.
It was a hotel,
Yeah.
and actually it did people that did live there in the hotel. And before Beck Hardware was a lumber yard, and right below that was where the ice house was.
Yes.
Now, do you remember in that hotel at one time, they gave dancing lessons, tap dancing and ballet in there, didn't they, Norma?
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
yeah, they give dancing lessons there. And who was that man, Norm, that lived down in the basement of the drugstore?
Oh, that was the hobo came through,
Oh, is that-
not drugstore, Butch Rapp's
Basement.
basement, and he took care of the furnace of Butch, and he came through as a hobo, and Butch gave him a place to stay,
And he was there for years.
and he died there, and
I think August Kasten lived down there too.
yes,
My father-in-law's brother.
yeah, we didn't call him August. He died in the drugstore.
What was his name?
I'm trying to think.
His name was August, but I'm.
Yeah, his real name was August,
But he had-
but he had a nickname.
Goose.
Goose.
Goose Kasten.
Goose,
yeah.
Goose Kasten.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was several Kasten. Ed Kasten, Fritz, and Oscar,
And Alma.
Alma, and Alma, and
They used to
great,
talk-
great town.
Yeah. And my dad and all the old guys here in town used to like to go over on the bluff and go hunting at night. They go coon hunting and all that over there on the bluff. And they go rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting over there. Yeah. Of course, at night when they go, they take a little bottle of whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah, they used to hunt over there a lot.
You know, a strange thing is that the people in Herculaneum, we had a Yida boy who during the Second World War invented the de-icing system on airplanes or something, and he was hired by the government, and he tried to get them let him patent it, but he invented it though. And he became depressed over it and he killed himself over it.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Up in Barnhart.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
In the rock.
In rock quarry, you're right. Oh, you got a good memory. And of course we have Dr. Evans, who's over all of the Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis. He only lived 2 blocks away from all that nasty, dirty lead smoke that made us all pretty smart. And now the people are all dumb, see?
Yeah.
You know, the lead didn't bother us one bit. And how they stopped the football game because they couldn't see the other field goal. You know. Had you ever heard that? Yeah. Down at this track there.
Wow.
Yeah. Be a game going on, and furnaces go haywire down in St. Joe. They got to stop the game until the smoke cleared up and then go play. Our local doctor would have people sitting out in the cars, standing out on the porch, waiting to be seen and all. And you knew what was going on because he was loud talking doctor, Dr. Sin, who everybody in town loved and all.
Now, you guys, what was your school day like? How long was it? And what subjects did you guys take?
I think it was ours, wasn't it?
We started like at 8 o'clock in the morning, and went till 3:30, I think. Had a half an hour for lunch.
So that's about what today's school's like.
Yeah.
What subjects did you guys take?
Home math, history, English.
Algebra, home economics,
Home economics, of course I didn't take it. Home economics was truly home economics.
Yeah.
You learn things.
yeah, you learned
We had
it.
PE,
It was in there doing
You
Mickey
don't have
Mouse
PE?
stuff.
Yes.
driver's ed.
Driver's ed, we don't have a driver's
See,
ed.
that's not,
They have it at other schools, but we don't offer it here.
oh, they do have it in
They
there?
just don't have it.
How much longer do you want us to talk?
They've turned the cameras off a long time ago. They got tired of us.
But, no, we took all the regular subjects and all, but I think, you know, we had, always, everybody remembers one school teacher by the name of Miss Crawford. She was a widow, not a widow, old maid. And the study hall would be just quiet as could be, but one kid be acting up, and she walked around with a rule stick, and she'd slap that down on the desk and scare everybody half to death. And it'd be nothing for her to come and grab you by the ear. And
She'd say, you
Jerk.
jackasses. That's what she called us.
yeah.
She was a tough algebra teacher,
Yeah.
Mrs. Crawford. Mrs. Kraft was the study hall teacher.
Yeah.
Well, she's the one that called us that. I want to
No,
call
it was Mrs. Crawford.
But she never had any
She'd
sassy.
say, you're dumb with a capital B.
Yeah. You never had any sassing of teachers and cursing. Kids didn't curse as much years ago. Everybody always tried to sneak a smoke of a cigarette and all, but the cursing and all, you just didn't have it. If you did, why? You didn't do it around school.
You couldn't smoke on the school grounds at all.
Couldn't smoke on the school grounds.
As soon as the boys would get on
Dress
across
code.
the highway, they would light up their cigarettes.
If the biggest fault of, I think, one of our school system, all of them, there's no dress code. And back then, there was a dress code. Of course, you wore ordinary clothes and everything, but, it did make a difference. And long hair, I can remember when Of course, we don't have that much longer hair anymore now.
It's coming back.
It's coming back, but it used to be while it was all short hair, and then they went real long hair, and the dress code went to pot, and drugs went to pot, and all that stuff. And
Yes,
but Herculaneum was a great town to live in,
it sure was.
you know.
Yes, it was.
But the business district was tremendous, though.
Yes.
All right, well, that's about all we got for you guys. We really appreciate you guys coming in, and we learned a lot.
Well, we probably could talk for another 2 or 3 hours.
Sure we did. Oh, yes.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks so much. Appreciate
Very
it.
good.
Gentlemen, thank you for inviting us.
I do have a couple questions. One, where's Ben's Tavern?
Well, it's tore
I
down
mean, I
now.
know it's tore down.
It was on, where's Michigan?
The other side of the post office.
Well, do you know where the other side, you know where the drugstore was? Then there was the post office, and then there was Ben's Tavern.
Okay.
And on the other side of Ben's Tavern was, Rat, and the other side of that was,
Preacher White.
another tavern, Preacher White.
Yeah.
He wasn't a preacher, but he was.
And then there was the cleaners on the other side of that.
And then earlier, before we started, I think Shirley, you mentioned something about WPA,
Yes.
what impact that, because there are some remnants of that still here.
Yes, this highway out here was made by the WPA, Norm?
The track field.
Track field and that wall.
I thought that highway was. I always heard the highway was made by the WPA. Now, I always heard that, I don't know.
I don't think so.
The
Well,
current.
who made the highway?
Government.
Highway.
That's something.
That was because that was the main highway.
Yeah.
That was the main highway.
The
Yeah.
two things I knew of was the current football field, the seats, the ends of the football field, and then just on the south end of the football field across the road, there's now a concrete wall there. But behind there was a WPA built wall, retaining wall.
Yeah.
Where Roy Thomas.
Mhm. Well, that,
So maybe
One side
that's
of
what
that.
I heard, but I don't know who
I don't know
built
about.
well, the dirt came for the football field from across the highway because our house was on top, and we used to get up there and wad up mud balls and put them on a stick and throw at cars. And hit a car, and then you run like the devil.
And I think another thing that just talking to the different students over the time we've done the interviews, one thing they, I guess, can't visualize, don't visualize is what, you know, like where we're sitting here now, what this used to be, as opposed to, you know, what it is now. Because I know when I was here, the only building that existed was the 3-story portion. This was built, I guess through our high school years, this was here, but none of this other, and this was just a huge parking lot out here.
Right.
And they had the home ec cottage, what they call home ec cottage, bus garage set out there. And then over here were the current office and business rooms, I believe. That was just one big terraced hill.
Yeah, great for sleigh
A
riding.
lot of benches in it, lots of huge, I guess, oak trees probably. And
Mhm.
it was really kind of neat. Where now you got a lot of concrete and a lot of building, and
Asphalt, yeah.
it's,
Well, one of the residents too said that there was a lake out there where the practice
Practice
field,
field,
right
yes.
out on the road. Do you remember a lake being?
Where the ball field was there.
I think that probably predates all of them, because
Yeah.
you probably remember, I know you remember the softball.
The
They played a
softball
lot
field.
of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
baseball
they
there.
played, during the summer, they played softball every night.
Yeah.
Right.
They had
All
lights.
the town teams come in town,
Had lights too.
had lights and
And
everything.
somebody mentioned, I think, Liz Parkey's Campus Inn,
Yeah.
which, when you look at it from here, basically was, if you come out of the elementary building and up that hill, it was right there.
Right back of the home economics building.
Right.
Never one problem among kids.
And before she had that one, she had
Up on,
bonds.
She had
well,
bonds at one
up
time.
on Main
Main
Street.
Street.
Yeah, I remember back before there was ever a fence around St. Joe. We as kids used to
Yes.
walk through St. Joe, and some of the kids would take their father's lunch,
lunch.
right
Sure,
down to
yeah.
where they was working.
Uh-huh. My sons, now, they still talk about how it used to be for them. They could take their bicycles in there, right in the front, and go run there and get air in their tires. Nobody said nothing to them. You could just go right.
I remember.
Right.
And they played on the chat dump.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, it's changed,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And I suppose you boys will see a lot of change in your time. Yeah.
I think the one thing is, and some of you alluded to it, was the number of small stores, confectionery, or whatever you want to call them, that were just about every street.
Right,
Particularly in this area, it seemed like there was one, well, you had Pussy Terry's,
Pussy
Patches,
Yeah.
Volks Market, Homer Lucky, and Clement's.
yeah.
The drugstore was the place when I was growing up.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, we had a soda fountain in the drugstore
And hand-dipped ice cream.
and hand-dipped ice cream.
Penny candy. Penny
Nickel,
candy, you could
a
pick it out.
nickel a dip,
And penny candy.
penny candy.
And Norm knew how to roll that ice cream so it could be
Yeah, I
hollow
was-
in the middle.
First lesson was, when I went to work there, is how to dip an ice cream cone and you roll it so it would be hollow inside. And when I used to have the drugstore, I used to let all the kids eat all the ice cream and all that they wanted, but I would tell them, don't you give any of it away or anything to your friends, and don't throw anything away. First thing you know, they never ate that much. You can't drink that many soda, eat that much potato chips.
Chocolate Coke.
Huh?
Chocolate Coke.
And people come down the post office in the Second World War and get all the mail during the Second World War and get sad letters from their son or whatever, and all, tears and all that stuff.
Well, I enjoyed talking to you guys. I think
Yeah.
We enjoyed you.
Well, we haven't gotten around
Thank
to
you.
the dirt yet.
The scandal part.
The
Thank you,
scandal
guys.
part.
You too.
These guys have to go to another class. You guys have as much time as you want. We have 6 hours worth of tape, so if you guys want to talk about anything else, the cameras are still on you. They've been on you. Yeah. They've been on you the whole time, even though whenever the camera people left a while ago, the cameras are still set. So, you know, if there's anything else that you guys want to talk or want to ask them or want to talk about, you know, we can or just one.
Sure, your family, didn't they have an upholstery place?
My cousin had an upholstering shop
I
down
thought
on.
you brought me a picture.
Yes, I brought you the picture. How about the book? Is it being taken care of?
We're working.
I mean, there is gonna be one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, oh, I was just wondering.
We need your family history.
I really got it. Here it is, right?
Yeah.
48 years.
No, there was the upholstering shop. It was Homer and Bess Coleman owned the shop, and they lived alongside of it. They had 2 children, and the whole family is deceased now.
Ernie Gilbert.
Ernie, well, I was trying, Ernie Gilbert worked for them. My brother
Became,
Bill, my brother Bill was county treasurer.
Bill, Ernie was county treasurer.
Yeah,
Became
he was county treasurer. He worked back
See, we
then.
had from Herculaneum, county treasurer.
One thing I'm kind of interested in, since I coach football and stuff like this, is I go up there in that old gym out there, that little bitty, you know, what we call the old gym, which would have been the gymnasium,
But they
or
would-
the
yeah.
new gym, which is 50 years old or however old it is. But the old gym, the little bitty thing with the, I guess it had the bleachers and stuff where everybody sat kind of up above it. And I just always kind of picture that atmosphere in there with everything so packed in on each other, you know, playing basketball games and stuff. But did you guys, was there like big crowds and
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
At the basketball games?
Oh, yeah,
Like
it was
packed right on
packed.
top
Oh,
of
yeah.
you?
Yeah, it was
We had
packed.
assemblies every Friday morning, and the freshmen sit in one place, the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors. You didn't mix. We all had a place to sit in those bleachers. And naturally, the freshmen was in a corner.
See, but
And
I
it was
go,
quiet, too. You didn't,
I go back to the older gym
Yeah, the old gym.
the super old gym.
Where was that at?
Before it's where it is
It's
now,
here, over there.
wherever the heck the building is. But the bleachers there, but up ahead, up over was a balcony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that, yeah, they had a balcony.
And then they tore the balcony out and all. There's no balcony when I went to school there.
No,
You can see
the
where the
kindergarten
balcony
was
used to
over
be.
in that building, in the lower level.
Yeah.
That was the first year I think they had
Yeah.
kindergarten, was whenever I went.
See, yeah.
Mac Marsden was the,
Mac
was the
Marsden,
janitor.
janitor, and he walked all around school with a pipe in his mouth.
Yeah.
And you guys graduated in both of which years?
46, and she was 50,
51.
54.
you know. I guess I was probably the first student
I must
that had a
go.
pregnant wife and got to go to
I
school.
graduated in 1940.
Yeah.
The first football team was
I don't know when,
1949.
your husband.
Yeah.
First of all, it was
Your husband
49.
and my brother, I think, were quite a bit the same age. Bill Coleman.
I was born in 1916.
No, Bill.
But they used to run around together.
Well, Bill probably born 19, about 25,
Yeah.
26,
26.
26.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't have a team, school football team, huh, when you was in high
I'm
school?
sure we did.
What?
You have a football team when you was in high school?
Well, see, I thought my first year was the
First
year
was
that
when
they had
Earl was 1949.
1949 wasn't.
Basketball for back in the 20s. The football was late 40s, like 48, 49, somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a ladies basketball team, which Miss Robson
Right.
overseen, and all years ago.
Oral Robinson.
Or Robson.
One thing you were talking about, I heard you say Ernie Gilbert, Imogene's husband was the county assessor for
31 years.
31 years, and many years, and it seemed like, from what I can remember, just not being that old at the time, but it seemed like there was a lot of the county office holders were from,
Well, there's two governors from Herculaneum,
you know, from
Austin
Hershey.
and Dunklin.
Yeah, Dunklin.
Yeah, that's what the school got named after me.
Up at, you know, Dunklin Drive is where Governor Dunklin is buried. A lot of people don't even know that. Governor Dunklin's wife, kids,
We're trying
and
to
some
change
slaves.
it.
Huh?
So we're trying to change that, and try to make it a little more
Yeah, and
prominent or noticeable.
Jack Tolley, who went to Herky School, he was some kind of a judge.
It just seemed like there was a lot of county office holders that had some connection to Herky, either lived here or grew up here or whatever.
Well, this was the county seat too until what, 18?
Yes.
40?
Yeah.
Before it was moved to Hillsborough.
It was supposed to become a big prosperous city.
Well, everything I read, it was, people thought it would become what St. Louis became.
Yeah.
It was gonna be the St. Louis, and whatever happened, I think it had a lot to do with the bank that the Moses Austin and Hammond, the two founders of Herky, they formed this bank and over-speculated and the bank collapsed.
Yeah,
And
well, see,
so,
Honey,
You know,
Honey Dormeyer was on the board of directors. And the strangeness is, I can't remember all the names, but he was director, but there was some money passed around to the directors before the bank crashed. And when Honey Dormeyer died, why, there was a box and there was money wrapped in old newspapers, and it dated back to that time, 60-some odd thousand dollars. And that was, they felt that Honey was such an honest man that he wouldn't spend,
It was hush money.
wouldn't touch that money. It was dirty money to him and all.
So did it go to his estate?
Went to his state, because I remember when Honey died, why, had Harry, the lawyer, Harry Weir, who I think just passed away, he also went to school at Herculaneum. Harry
Did
Weir.
he have family, Norma?
Yeah.
Honey?
No.
He had family, but he never was married, no.
No, I know he wasn't married, but
Die-hard bachelor.
Yeah, I think I remember going to his funeral home too. His visitation.
The
when we were
funeral,
little.
yeah.
But I kind of remember going.
Yeah,
Not really knowing who he was, but always heard of it, you know,
Yeah.
just, and I don't know, it just seemed like everything centered around the drugstore when I was,
Right.
you know, young.
Even
and
before
everything
then.
did, really, in town,
Oh,
centered
yeah.
around the
It
drugstore.
did.
Even as a kid, I can remember where there's no black kids ever came and sat down.
In those booths.
They wouldn't sit in the booth or anything.
No.
They couldn't, And I think I told Bill, well, I remember the guy, his name was Squirrel Manning, nicknamed Squirrel. And his wife was postmistress or postmaster, whatever you want to call her. And the little black boy came in, asked him for a glass of water, hot summer. And he told the boy to go home, said, we don't have black glasses here. And that's a cruelty that precipitated a whole lot of trouble later in life. And I never forgot that, how that had hurt.
Well, see, I've been told too at the theater that black had to sit in the upper balcony.
Oh, yeah.
And in Festus, why they had the white theater and they had a theater for the black people.
But we had some of
Yeah.
the best black people, I mean, that lived here in Herculaneum that there ever was. I mean, they were good people.
Good people.
Yeah.
Very good.
We never had any,
You were all here in the mid-50s. You remember, I think it's always kind of intrigued me was the integration in schools. Because, you know, there is a separation of, you know, the colored part of town was always
Yes,
that
yeah,
section.
that's,
And, you know, they had their own school until the Supreme
Yeah.
Court case, and then, you know, I think it took a couple of years to actually reach Herculaneum, as I've been told. Do you remember, and then anybody I've ever talked to has always said, you know, the relationship between blacks and the whites was never
Never a problem.
a problem,
No.
never a negative thing. In fact, it was other than basically the schools and I guess the public, you know, show and whatnot, they pretty much, you know, were friends with each other, we just were separated
we go.
until that, you know, that integration took place.
the cafeteria at St. Jolette, and the showers is a place for the blacks to take the shower, a place for the white, a place for the blacks
So
to
do you
eat.
remember that when it changed? or-
There was no blacks when I went to school. It wasn't
Many
any
did not when I was
54.
Had a lot of Jewish people.
But now my children, they went to school,
Well, I know I talked to
a few.
John.
Wasn't the Taylor twins the first ones that came in?
Linda and Robert, yeah, I believe.
Yeah, Linda and Robert.
They weren't the first, because the first class, according to John, Wayne Kinder, he tells me, is around 55, 56, and not him, but he was like in the second group, that came in, but there's a Henry Burris, and from what I understand, those two were tremendous athletes.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
They were.
You know, maybe the best that ever went to the
Right.
school, and, you know, it's hard to judge, but, I just know talking to him, he just told me, he said, he was this, they stayed in their part of town, so to speak.
Nobody thought a thing about it.
And when the bus come through to pick us up to take us to Festus, they'd have to get in the back of the bus. You know, we talk and everything, always waiting on the bus, always waiting to go in the show, in the line, we'd talk, all of us, you know. But then they'd have to go their way.
My mother's church, though, didn't believe in the segregation part. And I can remember as a little kid, I'm talking about maybe 5, 6 years old, going over to Colored Town, and they had prayer meeting with the black people. Oh, you know, the house was full, and outside people standing, white and blacks, you know, and the mom and the church didn't believe in that separation at all. But if you didn't, you was kind of against it, because my mother and dad, when they lived in their early marriage and lived down Farmington, they belonged to the Ku Klux Klan, which I didn't know till later in years. But it wasn't really Ku Klux Klan against the Negroes, it was Ku Klux Klan against the Hungarians and some of the foreign people coming and working for a much lower wage, just as in the mines at Leadbelt.
You also, I think Norman, you mentioned a while ago the church up where the firehouse is. And I know that old building is basically the foundation, basement of what was the church. Can you describe it to me, what that church looked like? I mean, I know they had the steps up.
Steps
Yeah.
up, yeah.
But I've seen a picture, I was given a picture, that supposedly is that building, shot from Main Street. It doesn't really look like a church, does it?
It didn't really look
No.
like a
It's
church.
more square.
Yeah.
It looked like something should have been in Southwest United States. It's almost like an adobe.
It was stucco, was it stucco, like concrete down
stucco.
there?
Yeah, yeah.
But it just didn't have
Seemed
a
like it
steeple
was
or.
either Episcopalian or Episcopal or.
Well, it was Episcopalian from what I've been told
Yeah.
first, and then Assembly of God.
Oh, it
Yeah.
That's what I've been told, I don't know.
Because I remember whenever we started on church there and all.
Now, were sidewalks and that type of stuff in, what few sidewalks there are, were those already in?
They were in
Yeah.
when I come along. I remember when they put the sewers in down there, in fact, it got scorn head from them, great big old pipes.
Gold or St.
Yeah,
Joe's?
St. Joe put them in down on Main
Wasn't there
Street.
steps that went from between that church and Dr. Sin's office and went
No.
all the way up?
We went down to Main Street, straight down from the church steps and then went
But
straight
it went
down.
all the way
step,
up to
step, step.
to that building there that was on the other side of Imogene?
The old
Maybe
clubhouse.
boarding.
Yeah, that seemed like there was.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, boarding house and housed the engineers and
From
things
Joe
like
Run,
that
yeah.
from Door Run.
Such a lead,
Yeah.
yeah.
And another thing that kind of always, I don't know, baffled the word is, but down there in front of Homer Luffy's place, in front of the post office that you talked about, over next to the B&L, and in front of Jim Donnelly's, and that, and Bus Donnelly's barbershop, it was the steps. What was the reasoning? I mean, I could never figure out.
It was him when he was riding a bicycle on the steps.
Yeah, right, I jumped that one, Donnelly's many a time, trying to bust my head.
Yeah, there were steps.
There were
Those
steps.
steps was there.
It was always kind of weird, because there was no change in the.
Remember that? There were
terrain.
four steps, sets of
Always
steps.
those steps.
I get it, don't you imagine that St. Joe has those sidewalks?
Next to the, yeah.
St. Joe did the sidewalks, the sewers, private street, and one towed the first electrical lines through the town. Of course, it was
Yeah,
basically
yes.
a healthy town, you know.
Yes, it was.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was 1953. Look, the business
Well, anything else
district.
you want to add, or?
Well, I don't know what kind of picture they got here they're looking at. Where's that at? That down
That's
here?
Main
Mr.
Street,
This is Mr.
1953.
Wax's house, and this
Oh,
was
my
Home Acres where they sold the
God.
coal.
Copy
And
of
this
that.
is, the
home.
post office,
Mhm.
and you went down those steps, and that was where that upholstery shop was, and there was a taxi cab stand there at one time.
What paper was this then? They, or maybe.
Herculaneum.
Herculaneum Times. Herculaneum had their own newspaper.
Who run that? Him and his wife lived up on Dothan Drive.
Church.
Yeah, Reaver.
His mother and dad had it before.
Oh, my.
His mother and dad had it.
Oh, did
Their
they?
shop was, printing shop was down in the basement
Oh,
of
here's
the
the
KP
old-
Hall.
September the 22nd,
I had to get
1993.
back to work, so she's got to take her mom, but, I just want to know a few more things about the KP Hall.
Fragile.
What do you, I mean, I remember the KP Hall, you went to, when I was growing up, you went to the checking office, got the key, and basically went in there and basically you could almost do what you wanted to do. I mean, we used to play street hockey in there, but we had Boy Scouts in there, parties. I can remember having a birthday party in there. And
They had boxing in there too.
Boxing.
Boxing, yeah.
What do you?
Boxing, and many years ago, they actually showed movies in there.
Yes.
Vic Brennan old man Vic Brennan's father used to be the handle of the projection.
And there was an upstairs
Yes.
Yes.
someplace,
Yeah.
and I've been told, and I don't know, that in the basement there was is that where the newspaper was printed?
Yes.
Yes,
That's right.
down in the bottom,
Yeah,
floor down.
And then I've got another question. Behind the KP Hall, like it is going down towards, I used to go behind the
Yeah.
plant. There was a building there, correct? Or does anyone remember that?
I don't recall.
Supposedly it was called the Rock Hotel. And I can always remember a foundation being there. Because you know, they kind of turned it into a little park area.
Mhm.
People would have little picnics down there and a lot of,
Mrs.
right along the no-run fence.
Mrs. Taylor.
But there was always concrete foundations.
I don't know what that was for.
And I've seen a picture of the Rock Hotel, and I was told that they'll run toward down in the depression here to give their employees something to do, work-wise, and hire people, and I don't know if anybody knew of that, or it would predate most of it as far as,
I don't remember. I do remember
the foundation.
Grant Burke talking about, I was trying to think, it was White that ran it or something like that.
There was a Bill White, ran something there.
Yeah, I can't
No, I got a newspaper article, and it could be the one you got there, where they, Bus Donnelly and Preacher White, who's, I think his first name was Arthur, and Bill White are all shown talking.
Oh, the road
And
house.
he refers to the point that Arthur Preacher White, who's not a preacher, and I don't know that, and I know you all remember the pile of hair just down there, bust down they had behind the barber
Yeah.
shop. I mean, I know you live down on South Main, and
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was his second location.
That's scary.
Yeah, he used to be across the street,
Yeah,
I think, in the end of what was the drugstore, wasn't it?
no,
I thought that's what Jim said.
no, it was across on over where, the
Okay.
old barber shop steps, butcher shop, and then where, I think where they had the, upholstery shop years ago was a barber shop.
Well, the thing I remember from the drugstore days is, next to where Side the Glue was, there was always that, I remember an empty lot.
Empty lot.
It had that concrete foundation.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Was that the upholstery shop, or?
No,
No.
the poster shop.
The poster shop was, you went down those steps from the post office, and it was right next to there. And at one
Was it like
time,
an old house?
at one time, people lived in there. I remember that. Fred Gray, in fact, his family, you remember that?
Yeah.
Patch family?
Patch family.
Guy's family lived
Now, when
there.
the Colemans had it as a poster shop, they used to train boxers back there.
That's where they had the upholstery shop?
But there was a place in the back there outside that they would train boxers. And I can remember one boxing match, of course, I was young, and I'd go down there and sit on the roof and watch them train. And then they had a boxing match down in Artesian one year. And I remember, what's his name? Bud Knocky,
Mhm. Good box.
boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, down there. And I don't know who else was boxing.
See, we had LeGrand boys, Woody and Bobby LeGrand. Of course, Skeets Gillen, there's a fellow named Skeets Gillen. And Carr,
Yeah, Longhorn.
Lonzo Carr.
Lonzo Carr run the boxing because Harold boxed for him.
Yeah.
I still got
Yeah.
those pins.
His brother died, so. Right. When'd you say, Pat? Yesterday?
Frank Carr did.
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Just had a thought, I was gonna ask, the thing that's always, and I've never been able to find an explanation, you know where the library used to be up on the farm?
Mhm.
Next to the theater. To me, it always looked like that was really one building as far as or at least it appeared to be connected, structurally. What was in that corner building where the library ended up?
See some pictures.
And it's like nobody,
I just remember Dorothy Kincaid was the librarian.
The library was in there
I
in the
remember
late
that,
forties.
maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Before,
right.
the building was there before, and I always wondered,
I don't know what it was before.
Ellen Lum said he thought there was boxing down there, apparently boxing was a big thing. And apparently St. Joe probably owned the building. What they did, I don't know.
That's
You know, when they moved the library out in the early seventies, mid-seventies, they turned it into their environmental office. So I always had the feeling that they owned that building. In fact, I know they did.
Norma, what was in the library up there before the library? You don't know?
No.
It's weird.
I can remember, but the thing is, I can remember as Boy Scouts, that's where we met down below the library, but I don't remember what was upstairs.
Yeah, it was always
See picture.
interesting. The building was so proud there.
Yes,
But
it
nobody
was.
knows what was,
Did you ever ask Bob Evans?
no. I don't really talk about, I mean, we haven't, you know.
There's you know, because I seen Bob, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, and his mind was very sharp. And, you know,
We want to do more of these interviews, but we don't know who they are. So it's-
What about Kenny Evans? Maybe you know what was on that corner. He used to throw papers, he'd know everything
yeah,
about
Dad.
that.
I asked him to come today.
Yeah, well, he told me Saturday night that you hadn't called him back, so you should try
I'll try
again.
him again.
Well, that looks just like Bud.
Doesn't it?
Just like him, what I remember of him when he was young. Oh,
Looks
my
like
God.
Jim. Looks like Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I
Yeah.
had nothing